Good evening, everyone. Good evening, YCYW families. We are very, very lucky to have Chris here with us to talk and share about the amazing institution of Columbia. In our conversation just before, actually, Chris and I both realized we were both alumni of Teachers College, which is the graduate school of education, and we both have very fond memories there. But I don't want to take up too much time. I'm just going to pass it over to Chris. So, Chris, would you mind introducing yourself to our YCYW community?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for welcoming me as part of the YCYW community here today. Really excited to speak with you all a bit more about Columbia University. My name is Chris Quach. I am the Director of International Recruitment at Columbia and have been here for about 6 years, have read for parts of East and Southeast Asia for about 3 years, including China, and originally from Maryland in the US, and I read a portion of Maryland as well. So I'm really excited to speak with you all today.
Thank you so much, Chris. We are, so we have a lot of parents and students, as you can imagine, that are really thinking about, Columbia because of the great institution that it is. So I thought maybe I could just start with the first question of, can you just share with us maybe, is there any new exciting developments for Columbia this year? Any new programming, anything that's, that's in the pipeline for Columbia that you would like to share with our community?
Yes, absolutely. So I might just start off with providing a very brief overview of Columbia for those of you who are less familiar with us, but we are a medium-sized private institution based in New York City, specifically Manhattan, and in a neighborhood called Morningside Heights, with about 6,700 undergraduate students across 2 undergraduate schools. Columbia College, which houses about 4,600 students studying over 100 different programs across the arts, humanities, natural and social sciences, and about 1,700 students in Columbia Engineering, our School of Engineering and Applied Sciences. So about a third of the student body size there, with over 16 different engineering and applied science majors to choose from, and really fortunate to be part of this urban yet traditional residential campus community as well. Known for our core curriculum, this set of 6 specific courses and 4 broader distribution requirements spanning the arts, languages, music, literature, philosophy, political theory, that really provide students with this robust liberal arts foundation to their studies that all Columbia students participate in and really unites them under this shared learning experience. Thinking about particularly new and exciting developments that are coming to Columbia this year, most important one that I want to highlight is the elimination of concentrations in Columbia College, so the larger of our 2 schools, and the transition of those concentrations to minor programs. Previously, these concentrations existed as something that closely resembled a major. Students could pursue a concentration and graduate with just that, but transitioning them to minors really the goal of that is to provide additional learning opportunities that students could pair with majors that were a little more easily understandable, more easily accessible. So not as many course requirements built into a minor as there would be a concentration, that really allows for a more versatile learning experience. Students can pursue now 1 major and 2 minors, or 2 majors and a minor, And we see about 40% of Columbia students choosing to double up on more than one area of study. So really, it is very much possible and very much the norm at Columbia to take on multiple areas of study, such as these. A lot of these majors are already housed in existing major programs. And in addition, we are building out about a dozen areas of study that exist on their own as minors, including various languages and a number of earth and environmental programs. So that's really exciting. In addition, we have two new majors, including computational biology and climate and sustainability. So particularly in the sciences, there are new and expanding areas for students to choose from. No particular changes to our application process this year or our supplement for those of you who are getting ready to apply this year. And we have continued our test optional policy, which I'm happy to speak to a little more as we move into our session as well.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Chris. Really appreciate that. And again, I thank for the parents and students for sending us these questions. And so these are questions generated by you. So one of the questions actually from our community members was that, so I'm going to read, so we saw Columbia's international admissions rate was under 3% last year. Can you share how I can show that I am really interested in Columbia? You know, what is the best way for me to show demonstrated interest?
Yeah, and this is a great question. And I also wanted to echo John in extending my thanks to you all for sending in these questions. So the key thing to note about demonstrate interest at Columbia is that we don't track it. And so it doesn't get factored into our application review process in any way. And so it doesn't provide students an advantage to engage with us anymore or a disadvantage to engage with us any less as far as the application process goes. So I really would only encourage students to engage with Columbia to the extent that you're able to. We know that not everyone is able to visit us in person, and so virtual options may be your only opportunity. And we know that students may be interested in other college options as well. So really pursue your college search process with that goal of finding that best fit college in mind. Especially as it relates to Columbia, and don't be as concerned with showing that demonstrated interest. I also think with the admissions rate that you may see attached to Columbia, I think it's important to remember that our selectivity rate doesn't necessarily show the extent to which our applicants across the board are making the strongest case for Columbia fit. Students may be applying in great numbers, but those numbers don't reveal how many of those applicants are actually articulating a good fit for Columbia, what attracts them to Columbia. And so I think it's always important for those students who are doing their research and finding that they are really seriously interested in Columbia to really make those connections in their application, and particularly our Columbia supplement about what your unique interests are and what makes Columbia uniquely situated to help you further these interests. What is it about our resources, our campus facilities, particular faculty, or the culture of the students that you find here that really draws you to us, makes you want to be a part of this community in ways that can't be found in other colleges you may be looking at.
Great, and maybe that actually ties into one of our questions from our students was, how can students stand out in their supplemental essay, the essay you just talked about? So I'm guessing the response that you had, that we just shared, was the answer to that question, or would you like to add anything more to just what you shared about how students can stand out in that supplemental essay?
Yeah, I think I would recommend that that students really pay close attention to these supplements and how specific they can be to each college. I think the colleges that ask for these supplements really are aware that it does place an additional burden on students to tailor their responses for an application to a specific supplement, and that it does create that additional work for you and the effort that you need to put forward. And on the other hand, it also means that the students who do put in the effort to craft those specific responses, it really shows us that you are invested in wanting to show your genuine interest, and that you are really making an earnest attempt to tap into what it is that's unique about the student experience at Columbia. So I think when you look at our supplement, you are going to see a number of short answer response questions. I think it's 5 total questions that and that ask you questions that really try to understand your sense of curiosity, intellectual curiosity about the topics that matter most to you, those books, texts, media outlets that you gravitate towards, that you really love to learn from and gain new knowledge from. And I think the way we ask those questions and what we're asking you to elaborate on really speaks to the kind of culture that you'll find at Columbia, which is really robust in its learning experience and the diversity of the community that you're going to find here. We want a supplement that challenges students to name the ways that they have engaged with diverse perspectives before, or open to new points of view that are different from their own.
Great, thank you so much. Very, very insightful. Another part, as you can imagine, there's been a lot of news coming out about more of the Ivy League schools going back to SATs. I think we have a question here from our community. Our students actually want to know, can you share a little bit about how Columbia uses the SAT in the admissions process? I know you have shared before that it's test optional, but I wonder if you can expand a little bit more on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely can speak a bit more to what our test optional policy looks like, how we put it into practice, what it does and doesn't include. And so I can confirm that we continue to remain test optional as it relates to SAT and ACT scores being submitted. At Columbia, we really do mean optional when it comes to those 2 exams. And so if you decide not to submit testing for the SAT or ACT for any reason, we don't know and we don't question why those scores are not there. And so you're really not penalized or disadvantaged for not submitting those scores. We see it as just one piece of the puzzle in getting to know you as an applicant. And so that policy also leaves open the space for you to submit scores if you find that you have a score that you feel is an accurate reflection of your academic ability. And as with all other components of your application, it is seen as part of it is seen as one component as in many that we use to inform our review process. And so it will never be the sole defining factor of your application or the one thing that makes or breaks it. What our test optional policy does not apply to is any English language proficiency requirements that you would be required to meet there are many ways that you can fulfill that requirement, the SAT or ACT being one of them. But on our website, you can find the other criteria that would also fulfill that requirement that we require of international applicants across the board. Our test optional policy also does not apply to any specialized curriculum like AP or IB curriculum that you may be enrolled in. And specifically exams that are tied to that curriculum that may be required by your school in order to graduate. So if you are enrolled in a particular curriculum such as these, and it is required for you to sit for these exams in order to graduate, then you are required to sit for them, and your school will be required to report those scores to us if you are admitted and plan to enroll at Columbia.
Great, thank you so much. Actually another question actually from one of our students is just more, do they want to know what are the things you love best about working in Columbia? Like, you know, what gets you up, wakes you up in the morning, gets you motivated to go to Columbia?
Yeah, I love this question, and year after year, my response has been the same, and it's really getting to meet applicants from all over the world and hear their stories, read about their stories through their application. I really enjoy being able to serve as a resource for students in this pivotal time in their lives when they're exploring different options and really asking themselves critical questions about what kind of college experience they want. It takes me back to my own college application experience when I was pushed to really take initiative, advocate for myself, and ask hard questions of myself about the kind of college experience I wanted to have, be realistic about the resources that I would need to succeed, and really tailor a college search with these things in mind. And whether that be looking for a good academic fit, a good social fit, and a good financial fit. You want to be able to fund your education wherever you end up as well. And being able to answer these questions from students, I found really rewarding. I also love seeing them through this entire process start to finish, from speaking to prospective students at the stage to getting to read about their journeys, their personal growth, and how it's gone through many stages. And I also just wrapped up staffing our orientation programming on campus this past weekend for our incoming first-year students. And I even got to meet a number of students that I met while I was presenting to them last year before they had even applied. And so it was kind of surreal to now see them on campus and see their excitement as they were moving in.
Awesome. Yeah. My next question here is from actually one of our lower secondary or middle school students. They say, I'm in year 9 or an 8th grader, and Columbia is my dream school. What advice can you give me to help me reach that dream?
Yeah, I think this is a really great question, and one that I think doesn't get asked often enough. And so I commend any students who are starting to think about their college and university experience at this stage in their schooling. It gives you a lot of room to grow, to really set in place a strong foundation for success in the application process. I think most immediately what you can do is really be intentional about the courses that you're selecting. Choose subjects and classes that take you outside of your comfort zone a bit, that really stretch your mind and put you in environments that are really going to push you to learn. to think outside of the box, and to engage with new ideas and new perspectives, and really developing a comfort around that early on, and not having college be the first place that you encounter that is really something that will set you up for success, not just in college, but in life. Really think about the communities that you want to surround yourself with. That can be in school, out of school. Think about the communities that matter the most to you and where you want to make an impact. Sometimes students ask me how they can stand out in the application process when it comes to extracurricular involvement, and they assume that we only want to see these high-level positions of leadership, but we know that that's not realistic. That there are only so many of those leadership positions to go around. Some of them are particularly popular in certain schools, and so the vast majority of students who may want those leadership roles get shut out of them. But we want to affirm the ways that they are still showing leadership, initiative, and impact in the spaces that they do take up. And so really keep an open mind when it comes to showcasing your impact. There are so many ways for you to make a difference, in ways big and small, in your home environment, in the jobs that you have, volunteer positions, and of course those bigger leadership roles. And don't be afraid to take on something that might scare you a bit, that might make you a bit nervous. I often find that those moments provide the most growth for students too. And I think in the long run, when you start thinking more seriously about researching colleges and universities, also keep an open mind there. I'm sure you are looking at options in China, as well as in other parts of the US and around the world. And if Columbia is a school that you've had your eye on for a long time, that's really great to hear. And I hope that over the next couple of years, you continue to learn more about Columbia and what we offer, the kind of community that we try to build here. But I also don't want students to shut out the many other great options around the country and around the world. So think about not particular schools that you may be interested in for the name or the kind of brand appeal that they may have, but really center your search around particular themes of belonging, around particular resources, tangible resources that they may offer for professional and personal development. Those are really the distinguishing factors that help you pinpoint the schools that are the best fit for you.
So, Chris, thank you for sharing that before. And I actually want to take an opportunity now, if you can actually share from your perspective, how from Columbia you see like our Ed Futures programs, our research programs, and that our students can get involved in at YCYW, and also our student leadership and service learning programs. Like, how would Columbia see those elements of students being involved?
Yeah, I just want to start out by saying this seems like an incredibly valuable learning experience that YCYW offers, and I encourage any student who is interested in pursuing this to really seriously consider it. I think it is immensely valuable in showcasing your leadership potential, your ability to build relationships with your peers. And I think the value doesn't just come in how good it looks on a college application, but the lessons that you learn around problem solving, around relationship building, and really reflecting on your skills, what you're good at, what areas of improvement you may want to focus on. Those questions that you ask yourself through this process and that you ask of your peers really set you up for for lifelong learning, for navigating new situations in a workplace after you graduate from college. And there are so many ripe opportunities in this program for translating those skills that you learn onto an application for college. And you'll find, if you're applying to Columbia or many other colleges in the US, that our application is built to provide multiple spaces for you to elaborate on a program like this. Whether it's in our extracurricular activities section, it really allows you to pinpoint particular projects or initiatives you may have worked on through the certificate program, where you might have gotten to take on a leadership position or been able to spend extended periods of time building a design project or carrying out a particular task, particularly if it is in service to a particular community. Thinking about the research component that may be built into this program, our application gives you the space to submit, an optional research abstract that can also showcase, the relationship you might have been able to build with a research supervisor or mentor, allow you to articulate the research problem that you might have been trying to address, how you built out your project, what goals you were able to achieve, and then of course there's your essay or your personal statement, where you really have the space to elaborate in more depth and in your own words what you might have gotten out of particular experiences in this program, who you might have been able to become friends with, find advocates in. And then, of course, again, there's your letters of recommendation when thinking about mentorship, being able to tap on teachers or coaches or mentors who can speak to your depth of involvement in this program. I think also can really help students shine and stand out.
Great, thank you so much for that. I have another question here from our students, and so they share. I saw on the news last year a lot of protests at Columbia. Can you share how that affects students' life on campus? And I think especially for our students coming from China and Hong Kong, that may not be an experience that they're used to, not something that they would see here.
Yeah, I think this is a question that we have seen from many students as well, watching what has been unfolding on campus in the past year, and I definitely want to affirm that that students may be feeling concerns as a result of that, and I think it is a situation that we continue to assess closely one day at a time, and continue to process as a community. And I think the lessons that we've learned in the past year have tried to center student safety and well-being, and really balance the dual missions that we have. One as a place that values freedom of speech and political expression, but that also tries to achieve this in a way that affirms our educational mission. Ultimately, we are an academic institution, a research institution that holds as our top priority quality undergraduate instruction and teaching, high-level research, much of which we involve students in as well. And we want to maintain a safe and secure environment for those things to take place, as well as for campus protests. And so I think we continue to balance those dual parts of our mission this year, and make sure that students and the broader campus community are well informed of those priorities too. And we want to make sure that student protests and that the voices that come out of that feel heard as well, and that their concerns are being met. So in the coming year, with our interim leadership that has taken helm, we are planning a number of listening sessions that will be centered around this objective, and that will take place across the university, across our students, staff, and faculty, to really get a sense of how to continue to achieve this in real time. How do we respond in ways that are transparent about what our rules and policies are, that centers most immediately the Columbia campus community, and really centers the concerns of those who are most immediately affected by these policies. That also includes a tiered system of access to campus that continues to be in place to ensure that we're protecting those within our community, and essentially protects our community from those who may not have those same intentions of, preserving campus safety and security. And so that tiered system continues to adapt to the changing needs and unfolding circumstances.
Thank you so much for that. And I guess we also have a parent question, which also is related. I think so. As a parent, I think they're a little bit worried about safety for their kids at Columbia, especially being located in New York City. If you can share what Columbia does to make sure that it ensures the safety of its students on campus and around the neighborhood.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will start with speaking a bit about our Department of Public Safety, and they, at their core, are campus safety officers. Some have conflated them with being police officers, but they are indeed not police officers. And they also work very closely with an internal commission on inclusive public safety, who is essentially, they serve as an advisory committee, and they advise our public safety department on inclusive ways to patrol campus, to really make sure that students from all backgrounds feel safe in engaging with them throughout the year during their time on campus. And so that also means that our public safety officers receive a lot of the same training that our New York, our broader New York Police Department would receive, but again, not police officers, and they also don't carry any firearms with them on campus. But they patrol campus at all hours of the day, and they continue to provide trainings to the rest of campus as well on bystander intervention training, and things of that nature, so that students, staff feel equipped to protect themselves as well. We also have what's called a safe haven program that local businesses participate in. They essentially register with our public safety department and are committed to serving patrons that may be part of the Columbia community. And whenever folks who may live on campus or in the neighborhood feel unsafe at late hours, they can walk into one of these businesses, and they will personally contact either public safety or the New York Police Department to escort them back to their residence. We also have a shuttle bus network that operates across our multiple campuses. We have 3 distinct campuses. One is Morningside Heights, which houses our entire undergraduate community. Our Manhattanville campus, just above uptown from us, and then our medical campus, even further uptown. And this shuttle bus network services all of those campuses and is available to all Columbia affiliates with a valid ID. And so that gets you across different neighborhoods within the city as well.
Great. Thank you so much. I have a couple of more parent questions.
Sure.
So what our parent asked, if my child goes to boarding school in the United States, does it help them get admitted more than going to, like, let's say, one of our schools here in China?
Yeah, great question. And I think this speaks a little more to questions I often get about how we divide up applications by region as well. So how am I evaluated according to like country of citizenship, country of residence? And so essentially our office divides up regional assignments according to the country where the student's high school is. And so if you attend high school in China, then our regional officer for China reviews your applications. If you attend, for example, a boarding school in a particular state in the US, the regional officer who reads for that state would read your application. And as far as differences go in how your application is read, there is no advantage in our admissions process for a student who attends school in the US versus internationally. One difference tied into that as it relates to financial aid is that even if you are a foreign national, a Chinese citizen who attends boarding school in the US, if you are a non-US citizen, even if you're attending school in the US, your application is evaluated as an international applicant if you are applying for financial aid. And so that means that you would be reviewed under our need-aware process for applying for admission, and that would mean that we would consider your ability to pay and the fact that you are applying for aid as part of our process. Otherwise, no advantage just for attending boarding school in the US.
Great. Thank you so much for that. I think that's very, very helpful for our parents. The next question has to do with our curriculum. So at our YCIS schools, we have an IB curriculum, and then in our Yaowa schools, we have an A-level curriculum. So our parents ask, can you share how Columbia views IB diploma and A levels? And also, do you prefer AP courses? I think it kind of ties back into that boarding school question again as well.
Yeah. So I think when it comes to the various specialized curricula that we see students participate in, we have no preference on our end for which of those curriculum are more rigorous or more preferred. We evaluate every student's academic performance in the context of what their school considers to be most rigorous. Some schools who may offer the IB diploma and A levels, or an IB track and an AP track and like a national curriculum, may see those tracks as equal in rigor, just with different offerings. Some may actually tier them so that one is more rigorous than the other. And so we would view a student's application within the context of that school. And every applicant to Columbia is required to submit a school report, a secondary school report that comes directly from your school's counselor or another official who handles student records. And so that school report is nothing that the student needs to submit, but that report tells us everything we need to know in terms of course offerings and rigor, and the full scope of the curriculum that is offered to students, and what they're learning in those courses. I think the important thing for applicants to know is just that they are demonstrating that academic preparedness. And yeah, for Columbia, that really means exemplary performance across a range of core academic subjects. So even I think when it comes to A-levels, where the subjects that students are asked to commit to are more limited than perhaps an IB diploma or AP courses. It is important to still show that range of preparedness across subjects that includes your math, English or literature, science, history, and languages. Because particularly at Columbia, with our core curriculum, and the fact that every student at Columbia participates in it, it is wide-reaching and spans a variety of subjects and disciplines. And so we want to make sure that the students we admit are prepared to take that on.
Great, Chris. If I can ask a little bit of a follow-up. So
Yeah.
as I shared, as I was sharing, our YCI schools have only IB diploma, and then our Yawa schools are only A-levels. But sometimes our students feel that they need to go take AP exams outside on their own, even though we don't offer the AP curriculum. And we often tell students, actually, as you were mentioning before, no, you should really just focus on what we're doing at school, do the best that you can, because that's how, as you were sharing before, how you evaluate those students. Do you mind speaking a little bit more into that? Because I think they probably would want to hear maybe a little bit more of an explanation from your perspective, from a university admissions officer.
Yeah, this is something that I have definitely noticed among other students who may feel pressured to take on the additional load of AP coursework that goes outside of what is most immediately available to them in their school or what's required. And I would encourage students to not feel the need to take that extra step. I think we are focused on evaluating academic preparedness and rigor only within the confines of how your school defines it. And so if you are maximizing rigor most immediately within your school environment, then that's great. And you're already showing yourself to be a competitive applicant in that light. And so I'd say you don't have to take that extra step to take on additional AP or other specialized coursework outside of your school environment. There are our admissions staff in our office who are well versed in seeing a range of curricula, and that translates to students who are really strongly competitive. And so I would say is not necessary for you to take that extra step.
Great, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And Chris, with that, thank you so much for taking the time to answer so many of these questions, giving so much insight. And we really, really do appreciate your time. Just really in a different time zone, coming and talking to our parents. Also, on behalf of all of our school leadership, our board, and our director, we really, really want to say thank you. 谢谢你. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful, wonderful night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And I hope that you enjoyed that, listening to that conversation with Chris.
好，大家晚上好，欢迎回来。那么我们希望您非常 enjoy 刚刚的这个访谈和对话。
So we are really happy that you asked a lot of questions in the chat box. So now Jennifer and I are going to answer these questions. I'll answer some of these questions in English, and then Jennifer will answer these questions also in Chinese. We're not going to be translating from each other. We're just going to be sharing from our experiences because, both of us are experienced in this work. So we just want to be able to give both of our different opinions, but just in different languages.
好，感谢大家在给我们发过来的一些问题。那么我们筛选一些问题，然后呢，John和我会用中文和英文，那就这些问题呢做一些探讨和回答。那接下来我们不会再做翻译，但是我们就这些问题来探讨一下。
And if you have any more questions as we're answering them, you can also put them in the chat box, and we will try to answer as many as we can in the next 15 minutes.
如果在这个过程当中您还有更多的疑问的话，欢迎大家在聊天框打出来，那我们会尽可能多的来回答大家的疑问。
Great. So I think one of the questions that we had first was, how do you show interest when Columbia says you need to show interest in Columbia? What's an example of that? So I think a very easy way is actually one to get to know the school. Start by going to the website. No, for example, if someone just put a question, if I wanted to study architecture, is there an international exchange program? Go look at the website. See actually if it's there. If you can't find it on the website, when you get Chris's email that we'll send, email him directly. That's how you show interest. You show interest by asking questions, by coming to sessions like this, by following up with the school. If you can visit in the summertime, always go and visit. It's such an amazing ability to kind of walk through the campus and see what campus is like, to see what the culture is like, what somebody else asked before. So really, I would encourage you to visit campus. Universities, like it when you like to go to campus and are able to talk about it, especially when you talked about those supplemental essays, because especially students and parents, when you go visit a campus, don't just walk around and definitely sign up for an official tour if they offer one, but that should come with prepared questions. And students, when you're done visiting a campus, take 4 minutes to jot down some reflections. Like when I was walking around campus, this is how I felt. When I went to go listen to what their programs are like, this is what interested me. So not only visit, but also reflect. And then as you'll see later, when we send, the link that Columbia made just for YCYW, do fill out that link if you're interested in Columbia, because they will see that. They will see that you're interested. And, email them questions such as, are there international exchange programs? I don't know the answer to that question, but they will answer that for sure. Jennifer, what about your thoughts?
对，那么我们对一所大学或者一个专业要展现我们足够的兴趣的话，当然首先是去它的这个官网上去做更多的、更详尽的一个调研。那么同时呢，就像我刚刚讲到的，我们可以去校园访问或者参加它的一些这个暑假或者是寒假或者其他在线的一些这个项目。当然，就像您刚刚提到的，是否有这个这个建筑专业的具体的这个专业的一些 program 的话，项目我们是需要去找到大学的这个招生官或者是他的网站上面或者招生办去询问的，所以去问问题确实也是展现大家兴趣之一。另外的话，除了刚刚教案讲的这些，那么还有一个就是，比方说我们有认识的朋友。或者是校友，如果说是在这所大学或者这个专业去读书的话，那么同时您也可以和他去交流，或者有的时候大学有这种在线的这种virtual 的 campus 的 tour， 那么大家也可以选择去参加。所以通过全方位各方面的去了解，然后在你的文书当中，或者是说你的同时和你的面试当中展现出来你对这所大学和这个专业足够的了解，那么招生官们自然会知道你其实是做了充分的功课的。对 ，John。
Absolutely. Thank you, Jennifer, for that too. So I'm going to combine the next two questions together because they're all kind of related to extracurricular activities. So one student asked or parent asked, what co-curricular activities should I apply to when I'm applying to university? And the other one is, if I am interested in a certain major, what are some ways that I can find these desired, extracurricular activities? Jennifer, why don't you answer that question first? Are you okay to answer that first? And then I'll answer after. What do you think to that question?
对，那么我们做课外的一些活动的话，首先大家肯定是可以做一些和自己专业或者是学科感兴趣的一些额外的课程。那么在我们耀中耀华有非常多的一些项目，比方说像我们的 CC， 或者是说像我们的 at Future 的一些项目，那么大家都是可以申请去参加的。另外的话呢，就是除了自己专业和学术之外的相关联的这些课外活动的话，那其实因为美国的学校呢，它的这个审核其实也是非常的全面的，不仅仅是要看同学们在校内的这个成绩或者是学术的表现，同时呢也会看大家就是在课外活动或者是社区贡献里面能做出什么样的自己的一些贡献，还有学生在学生的影响力。那么在学校或者是你的这个 group 里面的一个影响力，那同学其实可以做更多的自己感兴趣的活动，然后对你所在的这个不管是家庭也好，校区也好，或者是甚至你小到课堂上的一些小组的活动，那么做出自己的贡献，也能够展现出来一方面自己的这个作为 team member 的一个合作力，另外一方面呢，也能展现出来自己的一些领导力。所以呢，这些都是大学的招生官他们在招生审核的时候看重的一些品质。对 ，John。
Thank you so much, Jennifer. And just to add on to what Jennifer said, maybe I can speak a little bit about what we have at school. So if you kind of saw what we just had in the broadcast about our Ed Futures programs, right? So our Ed Futures programs really just offer so many different ways, even if you're as young as year 7 or year 8, to try out various different interests. A lot of academic interests, whether that's like underwater robotics or whether that's medicine or, whether that's just getting to know China, so just getting to know China and the environment. Really take the chance to just look at what our Ed Futures programs provide. I know there's a lot of extracurricular programs out there, but the ones that we have in our school, especially our Ed Futures programs, are excellent because we made sure that they're excellent. So I would start there. And then also the other question about, your major. Again, I echo everything what Jennifer said, but just in addition, something else that we provide at our schools. So for example, when you are in IG2 or year 11, our schools provide a job shadow program at the end of your IGCSEs. I would take advantage of that job shadow program. What that job shadow program is, it allows you to actually go into industry or go into a company for 1 week up to 2 weeks to actually see what it feels like to be in a certain industry. And so our CUGOs work together to look for a lot of different companies, a lot of them coming from our families that offer these job shadow programs for our students. So if there's any parents that are also listening tonight and you want to support our job shadow programs, please do get in touch with your CUGOs because we're always looking to build opportunities for our students. So for example, if you are interested in marketing or in business, a lot of our job shadow programs allow for these opportunities. Also, a lot of universities have summer programs that are related to a certain academic discipline. So for example, if you're interested in psychology, you can actually do a summer program on psychology, especially if you are interested in a university, right? If you want to know, for example, more about Columbia, look at, do they have a psychology program that they offer for high school students in the summer? It's a great way for you to learn about the university, learn about the school culture, and also, find something to do that's extracurricular within your major. So I'm going to go to the next question. And I think this has to do a little bit about, there's a question here about how long did the university application, how long does an admissions officer look at your application? So Chris is not here to answer that question, but we know from speaking to many admissions officers and looking at statistics actually, on average, a university admissions officer looks at your application for about 3.5 minutes. All right, 3.5. So it's very fast. They get thousands of applications. So that's why it's really important at each of our schools, you work with your CUGOs to look at the quality of your application, right? How much time you spend on it, how much time the quality of your essays. Also, to really work with your CUGOs on looking at actually how many universities you apply to. We actually have application limits in the school that are there to make sure that students focus on a set of applications they can do well on, instead of applying to 20, because the more you apply to, the less time you have to write all these essays, to do this deep thinking. Your CUGOs will help you determine to create a balanced list of schools that are your reach schools, the ones that are hard to get into, but you're going to try reach your target schools, the schools that are right in your target, and also some safe schools, some that are a little bit safer, that we make sure that you have an excellent place to go for university or your next steps. And trust me, all of the schools that our students get into are excellent. We just ran the data last year, and 80% of the acceptances of our students for universities were from top, so let me make sure I say this right, from QS rankings top 100. So that's 80%, right? So I mean, so really our students have really just amazing opportunities. Do work with your CUGOs to make sure you look at the quality of that application. Jennifer, anything you would like to add to that as well?
Yeah, thank you, John. 对，就像我们刚刚讨论的，那么我们的大学的招生官们或者大学的教授在审核大家材料的时候，其实他们时间是非常有限的，要在3分半钟来审核大家所有这些材料，其实是相当的有挑战性的。所以对于我们的同学和老师，那我们在做申请的时候，尤其是申请材料的时候，那我们要如何把同学们在这么多的活动当中，你们做的最相关的，或者是最闪亮的、最耀眼的一些品质，或者是你的优势和长项展示在文书当中，这个就是需要同学和你们的这个校区的升学指导老师一起去合作，然后帮你们筛选出来最好的、最能展现出来你们的优势和长处的这个亮点在你们的文书当中。所以文书这一块的话，确实是一个需要学生和老师一起合作的一个工作。那么另外的话呢，就是同时大家其实我想补充的一点就是我们在大学的审核的时候，他也非常看重我们同学就是做某一项活动你的一个坚持性，所以这一点你的坚持性也可以在我们的文书当中去展现出来。
Thank you so much, Jennifer. And to answer the question, why there's no more subtitles, because this is the live now our live Q&A, there are no subtitles. So that's why Jennifer and I are answering them in either Chinese or in English. We're not translating for each other. We're just answering in our in the two languages, but a lot of the content that we're sharing is quite similar, adding to the depths. And I just also want to share that, remember, you have a CUGO at your campus. This is why each campus has had the CUGO there to answer your questions. So I know there's questions here about asking about what are some of the best universities for education. Go ask your CUGO. I'm not gonna share that here because we want you to go talk to your CUGO first. So Ellie, go talk to them first. Ask them. They'll have great programs for you. So take advantage of that, right? Talk to your CUGOs on campus. If you have interests that you have internships you want to pursue, they'll be there to answer all of your questions directly. Jennifer, the next kind of question, maybe I thought you can answer, especially because coming from our Yawa School context, and it's about the A levels. Now, already Chris talked about, of course, US universities take A levels, right? Absolutely, they do. But can you talk a little bit about the IPQ, what the IPQ is, and why universities feel that, that research piece is something that is important for them, maybe to be able to see from some of our A-level students?
好了，谢谢 John。那么 IPQ 呢，是我们剑桥考试中心 CAIE 的一个research 的一个项目。那主要是这个科目的话，是同学可以选择一个自己感兴趣的一个项目来做更加深入的一个 research。那么一般来讲的话呢，我们是建议同学们有在你现有的 A level 选择的学科学有余力的情况下，然后再用你的额外的时间和精力，就你感兴趣的这个话题去做更加深入的一个 research， 然后最终会形成这样的一个paper report。那么 IPQ 呢，也是剑桥考试的一个学科，所以呢，你的这个 report 做出来以后呢，会提交给剑桥考试中心，最后呢，同学会得到一个分数。那么因为它这个 IPQ 的是一个深入研究某一个话题的这样一个学科，所以呢，其实也同时能够展现学生在学有余力的情况下有做这个 research 的能力和潜力。那么大学呢会看到，如果有同学选择了做 IPQ 的话，那么说明他是有这个潜质的，在未来大学里面可以做这样的 research。那所以呢，这也是很多顶尖的大学会看重 IPQ 的一个原因之一。对，John。
Hello. Thank you, Jennifer. So just to share with one of the questions there, sorry that I was looking at my phone, I was trying to type this in. When I was trying to say CUGO, which is Career and University Guidance Officer or Career and University Guidance Counselor, that's who Jennifer is at each of your school. And so that is the educator specifically at your school to help you answer anything that's career and university guidance related. We are also the school staff, that is the school teachers and school staff to help you think about it, apply to university. So that's what I'm saying, CUGO. Okay, great. Just a few more questions, and then I think we're gonna call it an evening. Can you scroll up a little bit more? Just okay, SAT score. So I think let me answer this question: are SAT scores necessary for applying to admissions in the United States? So you may have heard on the webinar before, Chris saying that schools are test optional. What that means is that the schools do not require you to take SATs. They are optional, right? So for many universities, actually, you are not required. For most universities in the United States, you are not required to take the SATs. Actually, in certain universities, for example, UCLA or UC Berkeley, they actually won't even look at it. It's illegal for them to look at the SATs. So you don't have to take the SATs at all. Now, there are some schools who do require it. So students, you can actually use your CIALFO, right, which is the software that we have at school in order to look at whether you need SATs for that school. So literally you can go on your CIALFO, you can select, for example, any university that you want to apply to. And if you look at testing requirements, it will tell you whether you need to take SATs or not. Let's say even though a school is test optional, meaning you don't need to take the SATs, but maybe you're a good standardized test taker, you can actually get a good score. Then if you can score well on your SATs, then we would recommend that you still submit it, right? Because it is an additional piece that the universities can consider to look at your applications to see whether you are a strong academic fit. So although if you're not a good test taker, don't worry about it. It doesn't hurt you. But if you are a good test taker, if you apply, it can be something that benefits your application. Jennifer, anything else you would like to add?
对，那么其实这个也就是我们在校的这个职业与升学指导老师跟同学带着同学做 research， 就是调研的一个非常重要的原因之一。那么大家一定要到大学的官方网站上面，或者像提到的我们使用的这个申请和研究的平台叫 CIALFA 上面去做你感兴趣要申请的这个大学的这个专业的要求。那么 test optional 呢，大家一定不要觉得说我如果考了，我一定会有优势；我如果没考，我一定会有劣势。其实不是这样子的。我们其实跟着大学官方的政策来走。那就像刚刚讲到的，如果你觉得你擅长考这样的考试，你就提交，你可以去尝试考。但是如果你不擅长，也许你的擅长在做很多活动，或者做学生领袖，或者是去做社区服务等贡献，那么你的这个申请的这个材料和各个方面看起来也都相当的完美，只要达到了大学的要求，大家都可以不用担心。
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to ask, I think there's one last question about, do we offer SAT support at our schools? Currently, no, we do not. But that is something as a foundation we're trying to explore. Again, if we do offer SAT help, we want to make sure that it's of top quality. So that's something we're exploring. But on that note, we just want to say thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for, again, sharing your expertise to all of our parents. Thank you, parents and students, for just coming and listening and watching. So just as a reminder, this is only our first series in our CUGO webinar series. We will actually have one more. We will have not one more. We have many more, but our next webinar is actually going to be with Cambridge University. And that's going to be on October the 14th. So we're going to put the QR code on the screen right now. Just so if you want to register for that webinar, you can register right now. Of course, we'll also send out the link later. But if you want to register for the Cambridge webinar right now, you can feel free to do so. Jennifer, over to you.
好，谢谢 John。 也感谢大家今天晚上抽出你们宝贵的时间来聆听我们这一场讲座。那这是我们职业与升学指导讲座系列的首场。那接下来呢，我们会在10月份也有邀请到剑桥大学来给我们做这个第2场的讲座如果大家感兴趣的话呢，希望大家能够扫这个QR code。那么稍后呢，后续我们也会发出这个申请的和注册的链接，如果大家感兴趣的话呢，欢迎大家能够及时的注册。也谢谢 John， 谢谢大家。
Thank you, everyone. And we'll be sending you a email later on with all where you can find the link to the recording. We will also give you a feedback form because we want to hear your feedback. How did you enjoy this session? Because we always want to improve. And also, we'll also send you, as you said, the link to the next webinar as well.
好，那么后续我们会将今天晚上的录制链接发给大家。那么同时呢，也会把这个下一场的讲座的链接发给大家。同时呢，我们也非常希望听到大家的一个反馈和建议，所以呢，我们也会把这个反馈的表格发给大家，希望大家能够填写。我们非常希望听到您的声音。
谢谢大家，晚安 ，Good night。
好，晚安，拜拜。